You're listening to the weekly Parsha Podcast with Ari Goldwag, recorded with Hashem's never-ending assistance in Ramat B'Shemesh Israel, 5779, 2018. This week's Parsha is Parsha's Toldos. And in our Parsha, the Torah describes the story with Yaakov Avinu with Jacob as he steals the blessings. Esav, his older brother, who was a rasha, who was evil, who has tricked his father into believing that he's a righteous person, so he comes to get the blessings from Yitzchak, from his father Isaac. Yaakov Avinu is told by Rivka, who knew, she had the prophecy, which stated that Yaakov was the greater one. She sent him to get the blessings, and at her behest, he listened, and he tricked his father into believing that he was Esav, and in that way, he received the blessings of Esav, not only on his own behalf, but on behalf of the entire Jewish people. To this day, we thank Yaakov Avinu for his trickery. Now, I'd like to share with you a piece from Chaim Friedlander, which addresses the obvious question that we need to understand. Yaakov Avinu ish tam. The Torah tells us that Jacob was someone who was a simple person. He wasn't a trickery person. He wasn't a person who was involved in trickery. He wasn't somebody who did anything other than sit and study the Torah. What does it mean to be a tam, to be simple, to be a tamim, to be perfect? He just was interested in spirituality and avodas Hashem, in serving God. And yet, the Torah tells us when it came time to do trickery, he did it. Reb Chaim Friedlander wants to understand. Parts of it we're going to read inside, parts of it we'll say outside, but Reb Chaim Friedlander wants to understand Yaakov is the ish tam. Yaakov is the simple one. He's the one who doesn't resort to trickery. Why is it indeed that he is forced in this case to steal the brachas, to steal the blessings from Esav, from Esau, with trickery? What is the idea? Why does he need to step out of his natural state of simplicity, of goodness, in order to trick Esav out of the blessings, to trick Yitzchak, to give him the blessings? Why is it indeed that the blessings need to come in this way? Another point that he makes is, besides for this, there's a chil Hashem. There's a desecration of God's name. The Jewish people receive the blessings through a crime, through a deceit, through a deception. It seems bad. What's the idea? Also, why was it specifically said to Rivka, but Yitzchak didn't know about it? What's the idea? Why did it have to come in this way? Clearly it was set up by God. Clearly it was set up by Hashem in this way. Why indeed was it set up in this way? So he lays down an amazing yesod, an amazing idea, and we need to understand the depth of this idea. What is the concept here, and what is it coming to teach us? How does it apply to us? Because it's very important. This idea is very important. And the idea that he lays down is based on the Zohar. The Zohar says as follows, and I'm going to read the translation. The Zohar is written in Aramaic, difficult Aramaic. I'm going to read the translation in Hebrew. Biglal kach nizdamin Yaakov b'chochma uvakmimus. Why was it that Jacob was forced to receive the blessings with trickery? In order that the blessings come upon him. The Yakov hu kedugmas adam harishon. He says an amazing thing. The Zohar says an amazing thing. Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, that Yaakov Avinu was kedugmas adam harishon. He was a parallel, in a certain sense, of the first man, of Adam, the first man. The oz nilkachu abrachas mehanachash shu svas sheker. Yaakov Avinu, what Jacob was doing was he was taking the blessings back. He was bringing it to the Jewish people, to the side of good, back from the nachash, from the snake. The snake had caused curses to come into the world, had caused the curse of death to come into the world by causing Adam to sin. And who is his representative in the time of Yaakov Avinu, in the time of Jacob? It was Esav. Esav was the representative of the nachash, of the snake. He was somebody who was involved in sin. He was somebody who listened to his Yetzer Hara in a very deep way. So Yaakov Avinu, Jacob, is taking back that which belongs to the Jewish people, that which belongs to mankind, to the tikkun, to the rectification of mankind. So just like the snake, as we'll soon see, just like the snake, it was his orma, it was his craftiness that caused man to sin in the first place. Yaakov needed to rectify that by using craftiness in order to remove the curses and get back the blessings. How many lies, how many words of falsehood did the snake say in order to bring about a mistake and to bring curses upon the world? It was because of this that Jacob had to come with wisdom, hit Aviv, and trick his own father in order to bring the blessings upon the world, and to take back the blessings that the snake had prevented from the world. It's measure for measure. It had to be done this way. It had to be done through craftiness to get it back, to get the blessings back from the nachash, from the snake who stole the blessings from the world. What does this mean? What is the depth here? It will take a little bit of time to understand. But he says, Yaakov Avinu bechir sheba'avis. Jacob, who was the highest, the most choice of the avis, he was the pinnacle. He was coming to rectify the sin of the first man. Like it says in the Zohar, the beauty of Jacob, the look of Jacob, he looked like Adam. He looked like the first man. Esav, corresponding to this, Esav was like the snake who fooled the first man, and he fooled his own father as well, and the blessings needed to be brought back to the side of good. Okay, now he gives us a little bit more of a depth and understanding. What was the sin of Adam HaRishon? He brings the Maral, that the idea is that Adam HaRishon had originally been simple. Adam HaRishon had been somebody originally who didn't get involved in figuring out, making cheshbonos, trying to make all kinds of calculations, the way things ought to be, the way things are, the way things should be. Adam was simple. Hashem said, do this. Adam HaRishon simply listened. Didn't get involved in trying to figure out, maybe I can do God's will better than God commanded me. That wasn't part of the deal. But the chait of Adam HaRishon involved the craftiness of the snake. The snake injected craftiness, injected complication into the thinking of Adam HaRishon. He quotes the Maral. Lefichach etzel Adam HaRishon kaidem shechata. Before he sinned, the first man, Adam HaRishon didn't have any kind of calculations, any kind of complications. Everything was simple. The Torah tells us that the nachash, the snake, was crafty. He was complicated. He had all kinds of tricks up his sleeve. So what happened? This is very far away from Hashem. I'm sorry. It was through this craftiness that he tricked Adam HaRishon. He says to them, your eyes will open. You will be like God and you will know good from evil. This thing that he was telling them was something which was beyond Adam HaRishon's, the simple way that Adam HaRishon approached reality. Hashem said something, you do it. Now the Nachash is saying, I have a trick for you that you can be like God, you can be more like God if you just listen to me. Through this craftiness, the snake took Adam HaRishon away from God, away from the closeness to God. God is a simple reality. God is all there is. The Ramchal talks about the fact that Hashem is simple, right? God doesn't change. There are many things about God that He is simple. We obviously, it's hard for us to understand what that means. God created the world. But to the extent that a person is simple, he emulates God. And to the extent that a person goes b'tamimus with Hashem, with simplicity, God says, I do. To that extent, a person is close to God. Okay? But the Nachash infused man with a new thing, which wasn't his natural state, which was complication, a conglomeration of good and evil. That made man distant from God. He certainly lost out as a result of this. Because as a result of this wisdom, so to speak, his listening to the Nachash, so he left his simple state. And as a result, now he became prone to death. This was something that was brought upon him by the snake. That the verse tells us that the snake was more crafty than any other creature. As a result of the Nachash, that's how death came into the world. From this we see an amazing foundational idea that tamimus, simplicity, going with God in a simple way, that's life. That's synonymous with life. God is the source of life. As long as the first man was simple, he would have lived and never incurred death. He would never have experienced death. Because of the fact that he was involved with the snake, he listened to the snake, that's where death came from. Okay? So now, who is Yaakov Avinu? He explains it's an amazing thing. The main sin of Adam is the fact that he got involved in complication. Who is Yaakov? Yaakov is the one who's masaking that. He fixes that. How does he do that? So, interesting, because Yaakov is the Ishtam, he is the simple one. And yet, he needs to inject into the craftiness. He needs to inject an aspect of simplicity. And that's what he explains, that Yaakov Avinu, he has to listen to his mother who has the prophecy which says that Yaakov is the one who needs to receive the blessings. Yaakov has to go betmimus. It doesn't make sense. I'm the guy who doesn't do trickery. I'm the guy who sits and learns Torah. I'm the guy who's honest. Yaakov is the meat of emes, of honesty. But there's a deeper aspect of tamimus, an amazing thing, that you can take the craftiness. It's possible to flip around the trickery and make it into simplicity. How? By simply listening to the words of his mother, the prophetess, Rebecca. She says, you need to trick your father. By simply listening, he transforms the trickery that he does into simplicity. This is God's will. I'm not going to ask. I'm going to do as I'm supposed to do. I'm going to do as Hashem wills without me asking. And sometimes for Yaakov Avinu, it was the case that it involved trickery. It involved that he needed to trick his father. But he prays, and Rabbi Chaim Friedlander brings it down. I'm not going to read it inside, but he prayed as he went into this nisayon, as he went into this amazing, challenging experience. He prays, God, please help me, that even when I say a lie, even when I trick my father, it should be true. Somehow it should be true. Somehow what I say should be true. He prayed that he shouldn't get tainted by the trickery, that the trickery shouldn't take away from his tamimus, but rather the trickery should be transformed by his tamimus. It should be transformed into tamimus, into simplicity, into truth, into what's correct. Amazing thing. And he says like this, he says, that's the difference between this world and the next world. In this world, so we live in a world, in Amad Shikra, a world of lies. That's who Esav was. Esav was the one who was involved in tricking his own father, pretending to be someone he wasn't, pretending to be someone who was righteous, when in truth, he wasn't so righteous. Esav represents this world, the world of lies. Yaakov Avinu represents the world of truth. And so he's injecting the truth even into the world of lies. The world has been brought down because of the sin of Adam HaRishon, because of the armimus, the trickery of the Nachash. And it's Yaakov Avinu's job to switch things back. He also points out that this is something that we see by Avram Avinu. Avram Avinu is given a command by Hashem, which doesn't make sense. Hashem says to him, I want you to shecht your son Yitzchak. I want you to take Isaac, and I want you to slaughter him, bring him up on the mountain. He understood that meant bring him up as an oila, as a korban, as a sacrifice. How could it be? Hashem promised me. Hashem said that this is going to be the beginning of the Jewish people. How could it be that he's telling me to sacrifice my son? Ani betumi elech. I go in my simplicity. I go in my tamimus, in my perfect trust in God. I do what God says. That's the way of Avram Avinu, and that's what Yaakov Avinu also had. But he had to come and infuse even the trickery with that tamimus, with that simplicity. Now, I want to understand this. I want to understand, what does it mean? What is the idea here? That we need to, is that an open invitation to trick people? If we're doing it l'shem shamayim, if we're doing it for the right reasons? Of course not. That's not what this is coming to teach us. That's not what this is coming to teach us at all. What it's coming to teach us is that in this case, it's very clear. Yaakov Avinu was told by a prophet, this is what we have to do. When it's very clear, if the Torah tells us to behave in a certain way, we go with the way that the Torah says. But I'd like to read to you from the end of the piece. There's some stuff in here I'm not going to get into, but I want to read to you from the end of the piece where Reb Chaim Friedlander gives us examples of places where this applies to us, where we can use the idea of trickery, so to speak, in our avodas Hashem, in our service of God, and we can infuse it with tamimus, with perfection, with simplicity. Let's remember, Esav was the one who represented the Yetzer Hara, the evil inclination, right? And with the evil inclination, it was appropriate to come in with trickery, zelu maseh, to get back the blessings, to undo, to take away that which the Nachash brought into the world, that which the snake brought into the world. So now when we're coming to fight against our Yetzer Hara, so we need to use Begeder Shel Midah Keneged Midah, we need to use this measure for measure. Ubabar Amos, he comes to us with tricks, right? The Yetzer Hara has no qualms tricking us into doing evil. So we need to deal with him also sometimes with a certain aspect of trickery. For example, number one, there's an idea that sometimes we need to do things for the wrong reasons. Sometimes we need to do the right thing for the wrong reason. Not for its own sake, not because we're doing it because it's the right thing to do per se. Because there's an idea that when we do something for the wrong reason, if we have the intent to get to the right reason, so our sages tell us that will indeed lead us to do the thing for the right reason eventually. So it's like a type of trick on the Yetzer Hara. The evil inclination wants us to do things for bad reasons, for egotistical reasons. We can actually use that to our benefit by starting that way, giving the Yetzer Hara his due, so to speak, and then working our way towards doing it for the right reasons with pure intent. Yetzer Hara tells us, what are you learning so much? Why are you trying to study God's Torah? Why are you trying to be spiritual? Why are you listening to a shir? Go do things, make money. Go do things, take care of other important things. We can answer, you know what? It's possible to make money learning Torah. It's possible to get great honor from studying the Torah. Even though that's, of course, not the reason a person's supposed to do it lechatchila. It's not the best reason. However, by starting off with that and telling us, don't try to pull me away from Torah with that kind of trick. I'm going to trick you. I'm going to show you. I can do the right thing for the wrong reason too, and end up doing it for the right reasons in the end. Number two, amazing thing. Yitzhar says, listen, you can't do that action. You're doing a mitzvah. You're showing yourself to be a righteous person. You're davening. You look like you have so much kavanah. You have so much intent as you pray. Yitzhar says, don't do that. Come on, who are you fooling? You don't have that on your insides. You're doing these actions in an external action, but Who are you kidding? Right? That's how the Yitzhar tries to trick us. To empty us out of serving God. But the truth is, many times we find that the outer actions that we take awaken something inside of us. Even though we don't feel that way on the inside, but sometimes when we do something externally, smile, even though I don't feel happy, or I feel very lazy right now, get up and start moving, right? That can awaken inside of us a true feeling of happiness, a true feeling of movement. But by doing this consistently, eventually it will penetrate. It's something that we know to be true. The outer actions awaken the inner self. The Ramchal talks about it. Another trick. Number 3, that when we have challenges, we have difficulties, we got to use all the means at our disposal to face off with those challenges, to trick the Yetzer Hara. Bother me later. Ask me to do that Avera tomorrow. I can't do it today. It's just not a good time. Pushing off the Yetzer Hara. So these are the ideas, and I want to bless you and ask you to bless me. Hashem should help us, that we should understand the depth of what it means to serve Hashem, b'tmimus, of course, to serve Hashem with simplicity, to go in God's ways, to try our best to do things in a simple way, and also to be able to use in the appropriate place our mimus, the craftiness, the tricks, in order to serve God properly, and infuse even those tricks with the simplicity of serving God. Thank you so much for listening. Have a wonderful Shabbos. This podcast was made possible through the gracious donations of listeners like you. For more podcasts like this, please visit www.arigoldwag.com or search on iTunes Ari Goldwag.